In this shop tour, we visit CMM Off-Road to see how they design and manufacture billet aluminum accessories for Jeeps and off-road vehicles. We'll check out their processes, explore their products, and get insights from the team behind them. And this episode is brought to you by More EXPO.
All right, we are here with Brian from CMM Off-Road, and he's going to take us around some of his products that they have here in the shop. And let's take it away.
Very good, very good. The big mainstay right now, everything we do JL-wise are still going like hotcakes. Our mirror mounts that can be used in the upper or in the lower positions. This on the bottom side here is an accessory mount that we consider an A-pillar accessory mount. It can be mounted in the upper position as well. It does great for holding your switch panels and other pieces and parts.
And it's just that little piece that just pops into the holding point?
It does. And we start, I can show you here in a minute, we can start with a solid chunk of aluminum, and then use our 2 5-axis CNC machines to go from just a big chunk of block to what we have here.
So you're making this from raw material?
From raw material, yeah. And including, same with the ball mounts. We've got a 1-inch one, we've got 20 millimeter. If you don't want to have anything else mounted on there, you just want to use it for your mirrors, we've got a little button bolt that we make that goes in it. We call it a ball mount delete is what we call it.
Okay,
so
very cool.
Those are our primes for the JL still. Down here on the console, we've got the accessory mounts. We use them a lot of times for holsters, for our weapons. Guys mount radios to them. Every day somebody's coming up with something else that they're putting down there on the console.
Yeah. Anything that they can find a use for, that can mount to it, they're ready for it, right? Nice.
And since we do the overlanding side of stuff with this, the rear view mirror becomes obsolete. I mean, you're technically supposed to have a rear view mirror in all vehicles on the inside, but you can't see out the back at all. Yeah. So we've made a mount that goes up there in that position. It works whether you have the eyesight deal, it works with that one, or if you don't have that as well, it bolts right up into the same position. So you can use your iPad up there, and we use that, like on this one, we use it for navigation. So
that's really a good way to use something or a space that you weren't going to be using, because like you said, that rearview mirror is completely useless.
Once you're packed in the back, it comes down, we started looking at laws and stuff, and even a box van that's completely enclosed with no back glass has to have a rearview mirror in it. In like all states, it's crazy, but we can get away with it.
Man, yeah.
Our newest thing, we've been playing around with different colors in this car. We're getting ready to change colors. When we get around to the bed rack, you'll see, but our shifters. So we've made these shifter handles. The original reason to do the transmission shifter handle was if you are climbing something, maybe not necessarily a Gladiator, 2 doors very much so, if you're climbing something that's incredibly steep and you get to the point where you feel like the front end's getting ready to go over the back end, you can now, with ours, you can slam it straight from drive through neutral into reverse.
Oh, okay.
And I just engineered the internals of that shifter. There's a little rotating switch there, so you can change it from what we call like standard to DNR, which is drive, neutral, reverse.
Gotcha.
That way, if you're in drive and you're climbing on something and it starts to feel like it's gonna go, you just hit it now and it'll snap straight to reverse, and you can back down it instead of, because before if you try to grab the lever and feel it, you'll end up in park,
you have to
and then it hooks and then you are going over. So, and we'll have several of those running in KOH this year too.
Very cool.
On the other side over there, we've got the same thing in the A-pillar, of course, and then in the grab bar for the 18 to the 23s, they changed it in the 24. They took the grab bar away, so it's like a YJ now. You know, the 24s to go back to something that didn't have a bar in it. But we make a ball mount that goes into those as well.
Okay, perfect. So really, like a lot of options for mounting all the different accessories that we like to add to our overland vehicles.
Yep, and
beautiful.
Everything we want to make it incredibly secure. You're not chasing it around all the time. It's not moving when you're wheeling. It's out of the way. It's out of the eyesight of being able to look through the windshield and see everything you need to see.
Absolutely.
Just try to make it as clean as we can make it.
Nice. I really like the quality, like the fit and finish I see here. It's super tight.
Strive to do the best we can. We get over there, I'll show you some of the stuff with the 24. They completely changed. On the 24s, they changed. It doesn't look like it's different. And our most common thing now is guys they'll have a 18 to 23 and they take it to the dealership to trade. They'll pull the mounts out and then they get their 24 and then it won't go in. And it looks similar, but they completely changed it. I can show you over here in a minute what the backside looks like, what it looks like. But since it has a side curtain airbag now, that deploys down. With that there, they had to change the way the A-pillar was to get the wiring and everything else through it. So it was different. When we have a good relationship, of course, with the Jeep engineers and everybody, and we were just about counted out. They had thought about taking out like the handle and taking out some of the stuff, but there's so much demand for it that they kept it. So they kept it for us. So thank you guys, we appreciate it. So
we need our mounting points.
we
Where am I
need
gonna put all
mounting
my
points.
stuff?
Yes, and it just, we've laughed about that. It's like if you put everything up in this thing, you end up with like, you have a small spot to look through the windshield. There's
Right.
nothing left.
Right.
So in the back, we've got our rear seat delete racks. We make these at different heights. Obviously, we don't have passengers. My wife and I and our 2 dogs, which I'm sure they'll show up.
I'm
here in
noticing
little while.
a dog mat right there.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah,
The good
bed.
life up high.
And then it'll pop up out of the way so you can get your gear in and out. I've got a
Nice.
Goal Zero that fits in here, a 15 Yeti 1500 that goes in there. It's a nice place to tuck it away. So when we're overlanding, we still have power and all the good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is great, giving you a multi-layer or multi-level organization space, and then the fact that you can just pop it out and gas struts up.
Yep. And it's
That's
an easy
super
swap.
nice.
It goes right into the factory mounts. So
Oh,
you can
beautiful.
pull 4 bolts and we can swap. I got the seats over there. You can swap seats in and out of it in about 10, 15 minutes. If you've got air
that's
tools, you do it
perfect.
instantly almost.
Right,
so.
right. That's awesome, because that gives you the multi-use of your vehicle back too.
You can go back to a 4 or 5 seater if you wanted to.
Yep.
And the other side does the same thing. It flips up the same way.
And,
we've done,
that looks like 60-40 kind
it
of
is
thing?
a 60-40. It's the same split as the
Okay.
seats. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Exactly the same. Yes, sir.
Very cool. I got to touch this a little bit. I'm gonna feel it.
Yeah, and it's we've lost by doing the way that it's all pocketed and taken down from the weight from these 2 racks versus the seat. We've lost about 54 pounds too.
Oh wow!
So it takes
Okay,
some weight out of it because
that's
weight
awesome.
becomes a factor.
Absolutely.
As more overlanding, more people are doing more of these. Starting to see issues here and there, stressing things from weight, especially with the bed racks and all that stuff that are crazy, heavy. They can only take so much weight.
So something in our community, I live in the Nissan world.
Yeah.
So in our community, we're currently having issues with bed mounts because of all the additional weight. Not the weight in the bed, but the weight above the bed.
Yeah.
And it's causing this awkward torsion.
Yep.
And it's creating like rips around the mounting
Oh
points.
yeah. Interesting.
So
We'll have to take a look
it's
at
only
that.
on one side because they double stamped all the other 3 and they single stamped one side.
That's
so it's very interesting, but it's only happening on overland rigs. So we've already come up with a solution for it. But you know, it's like one of those things where you're like, oh wow, like the weight really matters.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You have to be cognizant of what you're adding. Your vehicle has its limits.
Oh
right?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that was always all the stuff in my past with the motorsport side, and that's kind of our tag thing. Is what we're doing is bringing motorsport level quality parts to the public, bringing stuff out, and it comes at a cost. You can't have good, fast, and cheap. You got to lose something somewhere. So this stuff is not always cheap. But if it's the difference between a cracked bed that costs who knows what to replace or whatever else, that's not an easy fix. And our bed rack, which I've got this apart right now, we're like say we're doing a color change on this car. So we've got it apart and we're going to do some stuff, but to have accessible storage and have stuff where you can get to it. This right now is just basically I usually have my recovery bags in here and inflation tools and all that stuff going bags inside here and all that stuff show up. We're going to reconfigure this a little bit. Behind there you can see our tent's off obviously as well too. It mounts on the same way. It mounts on the top of these. There would normally, that's why that pylon is still there. There's normally
so there's
3.
a third okay.
Yeah, there's normally 3 here, not just 2.
And this is all CNC.
It's all CNC machined. Yes. Yep. All billet.
It looks so clean, man.
The chase on it was weight reduction to get it as light as we can get it.
Yep. Light and strong, right?
And our entire rack with nothing on it, just the rack itself, is about a third the weight of most steel racks. Nice. So we're in the 70-ish pound range. When you start adding the internals and the hardware, these tracks weigh more than anything else. Reinvent a track to make it like we're not doing it. Plus, it needs to be able to take the weight.
Yeah.
So this side
the
does
tracks
the same
are
thing.
always the
way we normally have this set up. Our tent opens this side, so then what we do is we've got a gear bag that goes in on this. So then the vestibule's down, and then
you can pull all your stuff.
Wife can come down, change, do everything, and all that stuff, and not have to be out in the wind.
Yep.
So and it works good.
That nice, easy.
Yep. With the bags, a lot of times we'll take,
Keep it
if we're
simple.
doing tailgating or something like that, we'll just stick a couple of folding chairs, ARB chairs or whatever on here.
Yep.
That's what these are there for.
Gotcha.
And this is same thing. I'm a little over 200 pounds, and that's
nice.
nothing.
That was.
It takes whatever you want to put to it.
Yep.
So and then it tidies up. And our same thing internal. We've done these to configure in any direction you want. but it's the same type of deal. So it's a bed slide, and it comes all the way out. So we've done them with Pelicans, bigger coolers, fridges.
So the thing that I'm noticing, because obviously, you know, we've seen bed slides. There's a lot of them around. What I'm noticing here is that you have not created a big belly pan, which creates so much extra weight. We're all putting hard cases in anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Why do we need a belly pan?
Yep. Well, and that's the thing we figured out, and this goes way back, but when I was with Robbie Gordon racing like Paris-Dakar and Baja and everything else, with the pans and the silt, if you end up, especially we did it in Africa, worse, because SoCal in Mexico, it doesn't rain that much, obviously, but when you go to Africa, we ran into rain, you end up with all that silt in that pan, and then it turns into concrete when it gets wet, and then it's heavy. Oh, so you add insane amount of weight fast.
Just riding down the road.
Just riding down the road. So. But we can configure these in any way. We do these things as well too. It's a full-on, this is the same thing. It's coming from the same thing. Your tools are always in a bag and they're all over the place. I got some stuff out of here right now. But it's multi-leveled. It's just on foams. And that way...
This is what you put together on this?
Yeah.
This is great.
And whatever your tool list is, we'll run through and put the stuff together. That way everything's protected. You know if you're missing something. I know I got a quarter drive ratchet out of there right now. I know I've got... Like that, I got a little socket. Or
so would I like? I would send you my toolkit.
Yeah, or give me the list
or
what
list?
It is. We've done it in multiple ways. So, but it's
this is something I currently have a roll bag.
Yes,
and it functions amazing, and it's very small. Like it's roughly this big, this wide.
Yep.
But God, does it suck trying to get my tools?
And it's you're digging for it, and this you know what you got. You know if you're missing something, and then if you need to go just a little distance to somebody else, it comes off. And it's just a Pelican case.
Yeah, and they just have
it's on a QD. So the pins slide in when the tailgate's up. When this is on, pop her back in here. When it's on, the pins are in it.
Yep.
You can, of course, lock these. Get you a lock for them. But when she's together and the tailgate's up, if you got the box lock,
keeps it so it doesn't. They don't move.
You can't steal it. It's unstealable because it's in there and the pins won't come out.
Yep. That's nice.
Like I said, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the mentality of this is coming from doing just the motorsport side of the world. So I got very fortunate to be with Robbie for as long as I was. I've known him since we were just about kids, but it was an open book. And there was no budget. We just did whatever, dream it up, man, let's make it. And it just opens your mind to be able to do. There's no constraints of anything. You just go at it and make whatever you can dream of. So
what makes sense, what looks good, and what functions.
Yeah. And it's this is not for everybody. This is not, it's what we generally do is we talk to guys that get serious about it. And I tell them, give me your loadout list and put priorities to what you use. If you use it every time, we put it close to where you can get to it. If it's something that, hey, I'm just carrying this just in case, it ends up getting in the back and buried if you're not getting to it. But if you use it all the time, it needs to be handy and right there.
Right, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. I'm really liking the modularity of the rack system. The idea, obviously with these kind of components, you can change your rails, you can change your widths, your sizes,
and it makes it compact and shippable as well. These risers, we've done these in multiple heights.
Okay. Yep.
I've got one. The guy's wanting right now. He just wants it barely above the bed height. He doesn't want to have to climb that ladder to get in the tent. He wants it to have it nice and short. So we're going to have it just barely above bed height for him, and it'll still all be nice and tucked below the cab and all that stuff.
Nice.
Ready to rock and roll.
That'll be really good.
And this one, when we show back up this year, probably a Jeep Beach, it's going to have a little different configuration. I've been playing with some stuff on this, and it won't have like we were last year. It had the full 23.0, the big 10 on it. Everything was on it. It was big. This one, we're playing with some new stuff. It's going to be an interesting piece when we show up this year. So it'll be just a little different mentality.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see the new setup. I know we'll probably have somebody out there to record some stuff out there. So that'll be really cool.
Yep. We've got this. Then on the JK wise, we've got our handles that we've had for seems like now forever.
This is our double mount point.
Yeah, it goes. Nice. There's two factory spots. You don't have to do any drilling, cutting, changing anything at all. There's a bolt that goes up through the top and one that goes into the side here.
Okay.
Those two pieces of hardware come out. Our stanchions thread in, and then the handle bolts into it. So it is beyond strong. So
no wiggle in that.
No movement. We make them in this style, which is we call it a loop, which is an open handle. And then I had a guy that was an MMA fighter that was a buddy of mine, and he wanted a knuckle look like brass knuckles, and his hands are enormous. So I made it to where it fit his hand. So pretty much anybody that we know you can,
Gotcha.
no matter how big you are, you're going to be able to get to it. And on these, our mirrors do the same thing. You can mount them through this top hole.
Okay.
And the mirror will go onto it.
I got to see this mirror.
Here's one.
There we go.
So
I was like, you mentioned the mirror a couple times.
yeah,
I wasn't
so when
sure.
you got the door off, nothing's worse than losing your mirror.
Right,
And so
right.
you can't see. So now it goes in and nut goes on, tightens it up, and you're good to go. So, and
great.
what we had was everybody was asking, can you make them stick out further? My original ones, since we were wheeling, doing stuff, I had it tucked into where I could just see what was beside me, not necessarily what was purely behind me.
Right.
So everybody asking, I want it longer. Well, how long do you want it? Most time they put their hands up and be like, well, that's bigger than my dually mirror,
yeah,
so
right.
that's a little big. But my fear is if you get into something, you're going to cause damage.
Right.
So now we've made the breakaways to where it folds in.
Perfect.
And as it sits right now, it'll clear the door as well too when you close it. If you put we had a few where, and what it always was at the beginning years ago when we first started doing it, hey, it started to rain, I put my doors on it, I forgot the mirror was on there, and I started to shut it, and it scratched my tent. So now, if you use these, you can, and we do have customers that do leave them in that position
Gotcha.
while you're just driving around. To me, it's cumbersome, but
I mean,
their own.
considering it's a 30-second removal and reinstall, I think I would just opt to take it off. But I totally understand, people definitely would leave that. And the breakaway is great, man. Like that's.
Yeah, you get into a tree or you get into something, anything, rock face, whatever, you can just pull them in and then pop it back out. And then it also gives us a little bit more positioning for if I have a girl that was back in North Carolina and she looks like a kid. I mean, she's literally like 4'8".
Gotcha.
I mean, tiny. And she's like, I can't, even with the short ones, with her seat all the way up.
Yeah.
So now you can rotate this in and then get this. It gives you a lot more between the two abilities of flex. It gives you a lot more option to be able to see what you need to see.
Hells yeah.
So,
Hells yeah.
And of course, we do the handles in the rear as well.
Oh wow, same mounts,
Same,
nice
just
hard.
uses those two factory places.
That is so solid,
just
man.
to give you a solid place.
Yeah, it feels really good. Like rounded edges, finger holds.
Yep.
Like very nice.
Yes, sir. And back to the front here, right quick. The custom grab bar side of this is.
Oh, geez, I didn't even. Dude, this was so clean. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, we make them for all the JKs. It started as a piece. I wanted to have a solid mount. I couldn't get my like a tablet on to run nav. I could not get a solid mount. So with the way the plastic was, that was on a 2010, and I just couldn't really get it. And you can slide the little covers off of the 7 to 10s, and then there is a hole there, but it just wasn't finished and clean.
Gotcha.
So we started messing around with it. I was like, I'll just make a hole in it. So we made these. And then it became, well, can you write stuff in it? Well, yeah, we can write anything in it.
Anything in it, right?
And so then we machine custom ones for these all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. So because I know people name their vehicles, so they'll put their name across here,
We have literally written anything and everything you would ever dream of in these grab bars too. Some of you are just kind of like...
What would be your most interesting PG-13 one?
PG-13 one? There's been some good ones. At the end of the year, every year, I kind of reconcile and start a new file because these files get so big. And I went back through, and it looks like we have done custom-wise since we started doing it, and I think it was like 12 or 13 when we started. I think it was 12 when we started doing custom grab bars. We've done custom-wise. We've done like 2,800 custom grab bars. Oh wow! So there's been a lot. And over time, it just kind of dissipates, and you don't notice it. But man, there has been a lot. But there's been.
I can only imagine.
Oh yeah.
I've seen the stickers people put on. I can imagine what their grab bar could be.
Yep. And everybody asks us for them for the JL as well, a JL and a JT. But what it comes down to is, and I've got it drawn, and I can do it. The piece of material would have to start with, since the shape of it and the way the dash is, it's going to make it so ridiculously cost prohibitive.
Because it has to be the piece is so large.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So large. It's ridiculous what we have to start with. You end up starting with a piece that's like 19 by 6 by 5. So, and by the time you throw away 85% of it, you're into motorsport aircraft parts again. It just does not make sense. Played around with doing some stuff to where we've got 2 end caps and maybe a center bar.
Right. And that was going to be my thought.
It's possible. We got to play around a little bit. Like I said, we try to do everything in house. We don't cast aluminum if we had those made of castings. Probably could do a little bit, some of that, but Yeah, we'll chase that up.
Yeah.
Take a look at it. So
Absolutely. See where the market takes you.
see where it leads. See where it leads.
Awesome.
And what we are getting more than anything else is guys with 24s going, there's no grab bar. Can you make one for it? And the way they've got the airbag deployment, I can't do it. It's going to be in the way. Like I said, the side curtain's no problem, but I can't do it with the airbag deployment coming out of the dash.
So they went and changed all the safety features inside of these?
It's different. To get the dash in the 24 with that big wide flat dash and the screen, they had to change so much stuff that
I keep forgetting about the triple size screen that everyone wants now.
Yep, it moved things around, and it gives you a great appreciation for like the engineers that do create these and how far they've developed and where they've come and what we have, because everything behind this skin is not just a easy, it's just back there. There is a insane amount of work that goes into getting this where it's at. So we've got our steering, tie rod and drag link for the JKs and for the JLs as well. So,
nice, okay.
It's a combination. This is truly a combination between Rock Crawler and us. Been friends with Jeremy for years, and we do a lot of stuff back and forth together and work together on tons of stuff. And we got to the point where it's like, we want everything to be in harmony with each other, so balanced across the entire width of the tie rod and the drag link itself. And all the ends that were commercially available to be able to do something, we couldn't get there to get what we wanted for, basically when it comes down to stress. Say you set the front end right down on a rock and it's on the middle. I want it to spread that stress equally from ball to ball, not point load it right at the root of the thread, or point load it out here and then have it break the thread or have it break. We want to keep it nice and neutral. So he sat down and designed the ends, and I started playing with what we do internal wise for threads and other stuff like that we, like I said, learned over the years. And now we have tie rod and drag link. It's all 70-75.
And we're talking about that whole piece all the way.
Yeah, that piece going to the knuckle. These are Rock Crawler chunks.
Okay.
Jeremy does manufacture his own tie rods, and we manufacture our own tie rods, but those are Rock Crawler tie rod ends. They're serviceable.
Those are beefy.
They're beefy. They're beefy.
Those are nice.
Solid. Everything he did stress test wise, we're well above anything that there is. And since it's a balance, if you have this part and it's enormous and big, and you've got it on, just for instance, say you got it on a really small thread, well, guess where it's going to break?
It's going to
on the small thread.
Right.
So stress-wise, even though it looks like it's a big beefy piece, if it's not balanced through that, you're going to have damage. You can definitely have issues.
Gotcha.
We've had these out for a fair bit of time here, about a year now.
Okay.
Tie rod drag links. So,
nice.
Yep. This one's all custom suspension on this that we did a long time ago.
Love Rat Flow. I run Rat Flow on mine as well.
Yeah, Glenn's awesome. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
I work with All Dogs Off-Road co-op.
Yeah.
So that's my main jam. Yep. And we work very, very closely with Rat Flow.
Yeah, we haven't touched it yet. We've been so focused on the Jeep thing, and we're small. There's 4 of us here. Yeah. So we're not a big company. It's fairly small.
Yeah, there's only 5 of us. We just hired our 5th employee.
Oh, perfect. Yep. Almost forgot. Door handles for the JK. So
I even pulled on these, and I'm so oblivious. It's not a Nissan. I don't know.
I had a friend back in North Carolina, and
that's the handle too, huh? That's a whole.
And she had a disability where she just did not have that thumb strength to be able to push the button on the factory handle right here. She just could not. It was an issue. Yep. So she's like, "Is there a way you could make something different?" So let's look at it. Let's see what we can do. Yeah. So drew it all up and got the motion ratios, everything. So now we call them our paddle door handles. Okay. There's like a paddle lever in there, but that squeezing action of this does it. So you literally can almost just pull on it. You don't even have to push, or you can just pull on that lever and it pops it open.
Nice.
So, and they're all CNC machined. Every piece and part of that's in this is we make.
Not only did you create a much stronger and robust handle, but you also created an ADA compliant handle.
I guess so. Yes. I guess it would be. Yes.
I mean, obviously, we're not sending it to them to check it out, but that's. I mean, that's super simple. That's really nice.
Just wanted a clean piece that was tidy and out of the way. So, and of course, everybody wants them for the JL, and the way that thing, if you had those door handles apart, it's a
totally different.
It's a interesting piece, and
it's
on my drawing board, and I keep playing with it. I'm just not happy with what we've got as of yet. So
it really blows my mind how you have a door. Everything in this door is right. This door is essentially the same door
as
that.
Yeah.
But then they re-engineered the entire door.
Whole thing. Yeah, all of it. all of it complete.
I guess we all have to justify our jobs, right?
I guess so. I guess so. Well, they can't just keep jacking prices up on new cars if they don't do something to them. So, but
I'm sure it's better. It's always better.
yeah,
right.
But like you said, I didn't really think about it until you just said it. But like ADA, you're right, because that's what you do with this one. You just pull it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the
So
same.
anyone can just go and jump in.
You're not restricted in any way. So yeah, I had never really even thought about it that way, but you're dead on. That's absolute. So yeah.
That's
But
awesome, man. The products are amazing. Like
Thank you.
I'm very impressed with the fit and finish, the quality. Let's dive into some manufacturing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You want to show us kind of how it's done?
If we start with, like, we had the mirrors here, right?
Yep.
So like I was saying, how we do those.
Yeah.
So they start in here in this machine, and it starts with this blank of aluminum.
Oh wow.
Right?
Okay.
There's 6 of them that go in here. They end up locking into this position here.
Yep.
Around the array. This is a rotary. It will rotate this way, and it moves this way. So
Nice.
it's a 5-axis machine.
Axis.
Yep. So we can get around to everything that we need to get to. So what ends up coming out, and this is one for this is an 18 to 23. So when this is done, it basically looks like this sitting in there. And there's 6 of them that go around the array is what you end up with. So that's the backside of what you're looking at that's inside that A-pillar mount. This is the part that's got this is what's on the inside of it.
Okay.
And it's massively, I'll grab one of the 18 to 23s and show you the difference between the two. It's massively different the way they did it.
Taps and everything for it?
All of it, yeah. Every bit of it.
So
all
it's
3D.
full bit changing 5-axis?
Yes.
system?
Yeah, there's 50 tools in this.
Oh, that's awesome.
She runs with it. So
very
yes.
nice.
That's side one. And then it goes into this machine in a 5-axis as well, into the head. It's got a different set of jaws. We're making angle blocks for those JK handles right now. Is what we're making in here now. But it goes in, it holds that block from this bottom side. You see the part there.
Gotcha.
Between the two. It holds it, and then as it holds it, we go through and machine, rotate, drill, counterbore, do all the work that we need to do all in one without having to let it go. So we really only hold this piece of material twice to get to here.
Very efficient.
It's come a long way, because when I first started doing the ones originally for the JLs, I had a little fixture in that old mill, and we were doing this side or doing this, and then I was holding it like this to do this, and then I was holding like this to do this, and holding it like this, and then holding it. I had 9 functions to get one part, knowing that someday we'd get to the point where we could do this.
Right.
And finally got here. So, but that's what that part looks like outside the car. Okay. So, yep.
That's very clean. And then your final piece of powder coating, right? Is this
Cerakote.
Cerakote.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Cerakote.
Okay.
This is the difference between, if you look at the back side here, from the front side, there's not a huge amount of difference. I mean, there's some difference.
Oh, yeah.
But the back sides, this is a 1823 and that's a 24.
Oh, wow.
And it's the way that the plastic is. It's totally different.
All that power and stuff runs down. You no longer have the longer shank. That makes sense.
Yeah,
they're filling that void.
Yep. When you pop the cover panel off of it, 18 to 23, it's just a big square open pocket. So it's just wide open.
Gotcha.
And the 24s now, it's almost like the outer skin, and then there's a second skin below it, and then a little bit of relief, and then basically a counterboard spot where the bolt goes in to hold it on. So it had to fit. That's why all this is 3D'd and scalloped out to fit.
Gotcha. So it's nice and snug on there.
Yep. It's interesting to see.
I mean, something people don't think about, and he provided a key point.
Yeah. And this one's actually, we've gotten to 2 on this one to keep the rotation. There's multiple parts inside the 24s. There's a steel plate that bolts on to the A-pillar, and then the handle bolts on. The 18 to 23s, the plastic just went right onto the A-pillar.
Gotcha.
So now with that plate, it's got movement. So we had to start opening and changing tolerances to get stuff. So in the plastic, we end up putting this key block on it as well too to index itself in so it would hold.
Perfect.
And over time, after they started, you start seeing guys were saying, "Hey, mine's not sitting all the way in right flush." So we have a very good relationship with our dealership here in town.
Nice.
So I went up and I grabbed one. I said, "Hey, when you get another one when the truck comes in," so I went up there and grabbed it. And what we're seeing in the molds as the injection mold, to simplify the injection mold process, the mold that it goes in and the plastic gets injected into, over time they do have a small bit of wear. And I was leaving these corners right here square, and it just they were starting to round, so it was holding it off. So then we made modifications. But since we make everything in-house, we can make an instant change
right
now. We don't have to.
So
I don't have to call China and say, let's change this. I just do it right
and then
here.
go back and forth for a month to make sure it's correct.
Yep. We just run it.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. I am a huge fan of what I've come to call, and I think it's mostly been looked at in the industry as vertical integration, right? Being able to do as much as possible in-house to control the quality, to ensure that anything that you put out is going to be made 110% the way you want it to be.
That's
instead
what we
of that,
strive for. So,
back and forth with an outside manufacturer, trying to create something that you are proud of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. No, that's spot on, perfect as it gets.
Nice.
And that's, the motorsport world is different. It's you're behind the fence, you're on your a tiny little teams all together, still competing against each other, but you're isolated. There's no public input, there's no anything. There's fans, there's others, but there's no input. So coming out of that side of the world into this, it was hard for me really at the beginning to even show parts because I want to keep it hidden. That's all we ever did was keep stuff hidden.
Because this is the piece that's going to make you better.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was hard to put stuff out. But then as time goes on, we're loosening up and getting more stuff out. But that mentality of everything's controlled completely 100% inside that does not exist outside of that side of the world. It just doesn't. There's too many factors. And that's why I'm particular with this stuff, and that's why we don't do it that way. Nice. So I want the stuff to be good and right the first time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can never get a second chance to make a first impression, right?
That's right. Yes. That's right.
Yeah, so we strive.
Agree.
So, but
Very
cool. These two for doing this parts, and there's a bunch of other parts we make in there. It's like, say, we're doing angle blocks in there right now. We make all the shifters go through that machine as well, too, between a bunch of them. But we make in everything, all of our parts end up coming out.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And this is a multi-axis lathe, and it's a twin spindle. So there's a spindle here and a spindle on the back side, right?
Okay.
So tools on both sides. The turret rotates around. There's live tooling in it as well. If there's anything in it right now. So there's live tooling as well.
Okay.
So when we're doing, let me grab a part here. Pieces like these, before, since this is a turning operation with just a regular lathe, you'd turn that, and then you're just going to have to go into another machine to be able to do your drill and your counterbore. Well, now we do that here, and we can machine.
So you get the full cylindrical, and then it's able to add the. So it's all one motion now.
All one motion.
Multiple motions.
Yep. So we can do backside in the sub spindle. We can do the backside parts in here as well too. Nice. So when it comes out, it's done. And we're not having to go from this machine into that machine, then to that machine to be able to finish stuff off. We can just do it all in one hit. So
it's like like I've known a lot of these machines exist, but this is the first time I've seen this one for sure. Like this is not a very common one. I think there's one other manufacturer that I've been seeing advertising like crazy online that they're talking about. They're doing cylindrical CNC machining now.
Yep.
So that's super cool.
And Haas is great stuff. We've been with Haas for years and years. That was on an IndyCar team years ago. We were the first motorsport side that Gene did.
Okay.
Sponsored us at Pac West back in 95, 6, somewhere in 6, 7.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. We machined a bunch of stuff in-house, of course. But the team manager came to me. He's like, "Hey, we need to get CNC stuff. What do you think?" And Haas stuff wasn't new. I mean, it'd been around for a few years.
Yeah.
And like, man, everything I've seen and heard. So we sent the sponsor chaser guys out, and they came back with 4 machines, and away we went. So
nice.
I've got a magazine in there. I'll show you an old picture, which is pretty crazy from way back then. Makes you think, "Oh wow, I got old over time." So, but yeah, and so I've been with Haas for years, and pretty much everywhere we've been motorsport-wise, we had Haas, and then here we are, and I've got all Haas stuff here too. So, but made right in Oxnard, so same thing, American made again.
That's awesome, man. That's that is one thing. These machines, and I'm sure you know, like most of these machines are not made in America.
Most aren't.
And so there's
sometimes that's good,
options.
sometimes it's bad too. I mean, there's goods and bads across the board.
Absolutely.
But
and I'm not saying that any one of those machines are any less effective or abilities or quality products. But if you want to support your country, to keep your country strong and moving forward and economics, and you need to bring as much in-house as possible.
Yep. And this is when we first started this technically in 2009. I was just building. I decided did a small stint with the original USF1, and it was a. There will be a documentary on that some point in time because it was it was not good. The intentions were good going in, it just did not pan out.
That's really amazing that you were so involved in all these things. It's really cool.
It was fun. It was, and I feel like I've lived 2 lives now. It's it's been nice. So I got a second chance to do something different. But we had this old VF2 and that HL2 is what we started with, making everything. And I was just making parts for teams and doing stuff when we first started. And then had kind of an idea, like, well, been wheeling and doing stuff for years and years, and let's start playing with this and let's see what we can do. So I'm originally from Indiana, just south of Badlands.
Okay.
So Troy Myers, who's passed away now, owned that park, him and his wife, and used to go up there wheeling, had an FJ80 Land Cruiser way back then, did all that stuff.
Nice.
We used to wheel and do everything up there. Got to be good friends with him and all that fun stuff. But we got the idea, well, let's start making Jeep parts. So we did the grab bar, did a Fairlead, did our footman loop and D-snubbers for the, not like that one's got the AEV hood on it, but for the little footman loop, made those out of billet. And again, that was a part, that footman loop came from a guy that had he carried his kayak with him all the time. He's like, I put a ratchet strap on this and I keep breaking this plastic loop.
Yeah.
So can you make something for this?
It's stronger.
I'm like, we can make one. You can put the strap through it and run it up.
Yep.
So I did it, and he's out there. He goes, man, this is holding good. And he's like, his hood's going. I was like, whoa, hold on. We had to kind of give it a little bit of a squish back because he was pulling the hood up because it was going to take it. It would hold.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
But this one, this is all the machines we've ever had. We've never swapped, traded, done. But now with this one.
So how old is this machine now?
It's a 97.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got
all right.
millions of hours. I don't even know where we're at with this thing at this point. But
nice.
I swapped this one because we started playing around doing wood stuff.
Okay.
So now I have a wood router that's way overkill for doing wood. But when you first come in the door out there, we did our sign that's on the wall out of an old piece of barnwood.
Nice.
And it's just CMM Off-Road, and we're doing stuff like that in these things now too. And we've made tons of things that way for just as a hobby, fun thing to play with. I'm not gonna put it out to pasture. I'm gonna keep it. We can use it for doing something.
Use it for whatever you can use it for. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's super cool.
But that's what she does now.
And what is a great accent piece?
It is.
A handle, side.
We've had guys ask for the grab bar for a JK out of wood, and
I don't know if it'd be strong enough. You can maybe mix them together.
It would need something, and there's so much, and I'm not fluent enough to it. There's so many thousands of different grades of wood and tree
I feel like
species, and I don't know what would be the best thing to use, but we're starting to play with that stuff too.
Yeah, do like an inlay, kind of like a wood
could do
inlay
that too. Yeah,
instead
I could do
of
that
the solid wood.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Then you got like the soft touch, but still the firmness of the
still have
handle.
Ideas.
Yeah,
There's always something. So.
That's right. I'm sure you already got all those ideas.
No, you learn stuff every day. If you close down and not learn something, and that's the whole thing. Old motorsport buddies like you learn something from every single person you talk to. You just got to pick it up.
Yeah.
And I'd wake up every day thankful that I've got to do the things I've got to do because as I go back now to reunions and talk to people and the hard lives they've had and stuff. I mean, there's not that we haven't ever had hard times.
Right.
This last year has been a pretty rough one with the whole mess of everything that went on.
Yep.
COVID was not the greatest time either, but we've been extremely fortunate to be in a good place to we try to do the best that we can with what we got.
Absolutely.
So and that's what we do.
Absolutely.
So we manufacture everything in-house that we possibly can. Like say, we don't make O-rings here for stuff. We don't make, not all. We do make a few, but standard hardware, nuts and bolts and that sort of things.
Yep.
We don't make those parts, but if it's feasibly, we don't make glass for mirrors, that kind of stuff. But if we can make it, we make it.
We'll make it.
So
Absolutely.
we coat everything here in-house as well. There's a few parts that we do have anodized, like the ball mounts themselves. They get a hard coat anodize on them.
Okay, it makes sense because you
for the
constant
wear,
rubbing. Yep.
so it'll take it. But everything else we Cerakote. So that gives us the option of colors. So the rainbow of colors for Cerakote, and we've now started doing powder coat as well.
So
Typically,
before we go any deeper, what's the big difference between Cerakote and powder coat?
So Cerakote was developed for the weapons industry.
Okay.
So it's a much thinner coating. It's not as wear resistant. So the rings on the beadlock side of it, that's paint, and we clear Cerakote over it. You get into a rock, it's still going to chafe that. You're not going to stop it. It's a 6,000 pound truck going against a rock. It's going to scratch it. On a weapon, you don't have the tolerances to have thick powder coat. If you
Right.
powder coat diff covers and you bang a rock, you may have to hit it 3 or 4 times before you start to get a
Before it
nick or a
shuts
ding
off.
or something in it, and it's much, much thicker. So, and it's not as controllable in its thickness. So
Gotcha.
you'll see like, it'll take the detail, like if you've got detail in something that's perfect and you got a square edge corner, it may round that corner a little bit when you powder coat, just because it's a thicker, it's a thicker piece.
That makes sense.
And they're both have a function for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Cerakote's not great for UV. As you can see, like on the bed rack, some of that stuff is not held up great for UV.
Gotcha.
And
It's faded out a little bit.
It's faded a
Yep.
little bit.
Yep.
They have done some things now since they're getting bigger. They're massive now, actually. But as they have grown, there are some that are better than others, colors.
Big difference, kind of a thickness, wear, UV, you know, little differences that create it to be a little bit stronger with the powder coating, but you wouldn't be able to achieve the tight fit, the fitment that you have if you powder coated those parts. That's why you
like a
to go
gun
with
would never,
Cerakoting.
you'd never function
Right.
if it was powder coated. It's
Yep.
just, it's far too thick. So
Gotcha.
yep.
That
Different
makes perfect
application,
sense.
different piece.
Yep.
But we do everything in-house here as well, from parts coming in. These are pieces of the shifters. That's the handle shells that we make
Nice.
that make the shifter. So that's for the JLJTs. This would be a one with a DNR. We make them without that as well too. If you don't want that function,
Gotcha,
we make
just
them
to have
without it,
that.
just a standard. We make these parts. These are the T-case ones, same thing. We make these. They'll come over, they get blasted. Here's some, these are the delete bolts we were talking about for the
yep,
A-pillar.
yep.
If you don't want to have the ball mount on the A-pillar for the JLs, this is our little delete bolt. We make these, and they get Cerakoted in-house. So
Nice.
grab bar, there's a A-pillar without the mount on it for a
Yep,
JK,
yep.
for
All the little jigs, I love it.
Yep, all the little fixtures. We
jigs,
make all that stuff
fixtures.
right here too. So whatever we need to have to make, we do. But then blast.
Is the oven?
That's the paint booth.
Oh, paint booth.
So it's
geez.
a standard, kind of a standard style paint booth. There's nothing special about the
Okay.
booth itself.
Oh,
Hang
yeah.
parts up and away you go. But Cerakote is a little different. So it's a two-part, multi-part, I guess if you want to call it, mix. So with your color and your hardener and everything that goes into it. And that's not my specialty, but I got a guy that's extremely good at doing that. Nico is phenomenal at doing Cerakote. But all that chemistry side happens over there. It does paint on with a normal aerosol, like a gun, it's a
okay.
little
So
Iwata gun. It's not as big as like an automotive. It's a little one. It's like what they use for doing trim and stuff like that.
Is it like kind of like the airbrush?
It is. It is.
Okay.
It is.
Yep.
It's a little bit bigger than like a little airbrush.
Yeah, yeah.
That you'd see. It's a little bit. It's like between that and a regular paint
Okay.
pen. They get coated, and then there's a baking process that sets it off, because the
love this.
Cera part of it is ceramic. Yeah, 2 old ovens from the house.
perfect. It's
And then
perfect.
as we started doing bigger parts, like the parts for the bed racks and the big stuff, we needed a bigger
Right,
oven.
right.
So we got then the big oven, so we can put another rack in there, or we can hang long
stuff
parts and they go in.
Nice.
But then it bakes it off. So the Cera part of Cerakote is ceramic.
I just want to point out real quick how.
Hang on a second. You're good.
Two oven heating
They're-
coils.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. Like just the simplicity of
It
things.
is.
you know?
We didn't make this piece.
Yeah.
This is and that's the idea though. It's simple, because if we have an element goes out, it's just
just pull
another
it out and
element.
change it
It's
out.
not the control on it's what makes it function and do right.
Right,
Keeps
right.
it thermally stable and all that other
Mm-hmm,
good stuff. But those guys do a really good job too. But then it ends up, there's nothing just sitting here right now that's coated, of course. There's these parts over here on the bench. This is the color we're looking at changing to for the bed rack.
Oh, okay.
But you
Oh,
end
that
up
looks sharp.
with, and this is actually a weapons color. So HK used a thing called RAL 8000, a color designation, and that's
Okay.
what this is. So we'll end up having this on.
This is nice. This is very nice.
We source even material as much as we possibly can from USA made material. So we just chase that side of it. Then there's some things you just can't flat out. It just doesn't,
Yeah.
does not happen.
There are many industries that are no longer in America, unfortunately, and
But
we have no
even-
choice but to outsource it.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's one of those things that, and our material comes from a place called Loftus. It's in Nashville, and they're phenomenal to work with as well too. So
Nice.
we had a great source back in North Carolina and Denver when we were there, because it was specialized in a lot of motorsport stuff.
Right,
So
right,
the
right.
stuff that you normally can't just get, they did a very good job of getting us what we wanted. So, and we've chased down and found stuff that either get it from still back there, and I've got the guys here now being able to get stuff for us as well too. Different grades of aluminum that are not typically on your average everyday plate.
I was actually just about to mention that I didn't. It's a 6061.
That is there, yeah.
What different types of aluminums are you using?
6061 on the majority of everything. The ball mounts are 7075. The steering is 7075 as well. I'm using a spec that I'm not going to say what it is because the stuff that we had that was, it's like everything else. There's a T-bone steak. Well, was it Omaha grass-fed where the thing wandered around in the dust bowl of America to find something to eat, or is it a hand-fed cow that's, you know what I mean? There's different grades within inside the material as well. And it's a grade that we stumbled on. Again, the motorsport side, I've said it 100 times a day, but we stumbled on and found that when you have threaded parts, it makes it insanely stronger. So that's why we use what we use. That's awesome. So it's not going to fail.
Well, you can tell me about that off camera.
Yes. I won't even tell Jeremy what that is at Rock Crawler.
Oh, geez.
Like, what is it? No, I'm not telling you. So
I guess I'll never know.
But yeah, it's if we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't a passion to do it. Absolutely. You know, this is not really we didn't just set up, where can we make some money and let's do a business where we can make money. This is,
can I make money in my passion?
Yeah.
And how can I do it?
Sometimes barely getting there, but yes. Yeah. And that's part of the why too. You won't see our stuff at, not to go generic, but Walmart or anywhere big because we can't do the distribution side of things. Right. It's just not, the dollars aren't there to be able to spread that wealth out. So that's why most of our sales are direct to customer. We've got some really good dealers and some really good guys that we work with that work with us as well too. And you can find our stuff in a few places. And we've got some guys that we work with from the get-go that we're very loyal to, and we just run with them and we make it work. But it changes the game of it. So it's just a different animal.
Again, I know I've already said it 100 times too, but the fit and finish, the quality, and the overall end product is very, very nice.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Thank you. We like good comments, and I like bad comments too. If it's like, hey man, this didn't fit, or this is not, could you do this? I don't like the way this looks. It's not ergo enough, or it's not this. Bring it.
Input is very important.
It may look good to me, but it doesn't necessarily mean it looks good to somebody else. Right. So we try to find a common balance, I guess.
Absolutely. So you want to try to hit as much as the market as possible with the product. You know, so if it takes rounding one edge to all of a sudden have another 100,000 people that want to buy this product, then let's round that edge.
Let it rip. Yeah,
absolutely.
This is all of our manufacturing and the coating side and all that good stuff. We can run in here and show you like the shipping and our inventory and stock and how we get it from here to out there. So, and mind you, we do live here as well. So you're gonna like tractors inside. There's other things here that are.
You're living that barn dominium life.
The barn dominium side of the world. Packing, shipping, everything's in here. The inventory of stuff that we have that's ready to go, that these shelves are somewhat normally kind of more filled with, is not here now. As we tune things for the new year and tweak things, and after Christmas, of course, the Christmas rush blows everything out, and then we kind of start, revamp and refresh. This is our, I guess, slower time of year. So we take the January, February to get things, tune programs, tweak things, make shipping better, move things around. And this room a few weeks ago was configured very different than it is right now. So we've moved stuff and got things to where it's more going to make more flowing, and it works.
Yeah, I see some of the parts over here.
Yep. Some of our standard colors that we keep just in stock, so they're ready to rock and roll.
Pink for all the pink people.
Yep.
I love it. I love the color options. Like, all right, this is probably going to be one of my favorite colors. I'm not gonna lie.
It's crazy how it's a Cerakote color, but it's crazy how close it is to the Mojave when it comes down to it. It's really close. It's close enough that it's interior, so it accents it well.
Very cool. I just want to play with all your stuff over here.
Go ahead.
You got some. Here's the cap bolts.
Yep.
You can kind of see.
Our delete bolt.
Delete bolts.
And we've got a delete pro bolt. I don't know if there's one in here handy. Here come the animals.
Hi, little guys. Hi. Oh, I'm snarling. Hi.
Hi. We may be out of it.
Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute.
Easy. But yeah, everything comes in and out right here. So UPS, FedEx, and USPS every day.
Nice little close-ups of one of the mirror.
That one's definitely been on the used side.
Yeah, I was going to say, this looks like you used this a few times.
I think a guy swapped us, sent him in and was wanting the breakaways.
That makes sense.
And if there's the ones, I think it is a guy that we've known for the entire time we've been in. It was like, yeah, send them things back and we'll do a little swapping around. So he bought a whole bunch of other stuff at the same time too. That was made a switch around. So
nice, perfect,
yeah,
perfect. Is this the?
That's the brass knuckle style. Yeah, but you stick your hand in that thing, and like I say, his hands were
look
huge.
how big these holes are. This is my fingers.
Yeah, and like I say, MMA fighter, and the size of his hand, like his hand in this thing is like fills it like this,
like it's just normal fill.
Yeah, like it's normal. It is. His hands were humongous.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. I love the customization that you can offer. Like that's really cool. Like if somebody sees something that you have, is it commonplace for them to come hit you up and be like, hey, I love this product. Is there any way you could do a couple tweaks? Like is that easy enough?
We've
for
had
you,
some of the development.
A lot of
some of the development that we, for the parts that we have now, have gotten there directly from that.
Okay.
We can make one off anything. The numbers go ballistic, of course.
Right.
But we can make one off anything. I've got a guy that's wanting something special done with a shifter right now. We've been going back and forth on being able to do it, and I can do it. It's whether we have the time, whether we want to, all that stuff, and it has to fit. And
does it work
this
well
time of year?
for
It's
you,
not too bad. It might be an interesting thing to try and see if we can do. It's just the way that the switch itself works on it for the DNR one.
Gotcha. He's got a new idea for it.
Yeah, he wants to make it look just like an AR, like a safety switch on an AR.
Okay, I got you.
And the intent of that part, of course, is so when you're not going to accidentally go into the DNR mode. So if you're sitting in traffic, you make sure you go back to standard. So you can't, if you reach back to yell at the kids, and you turn back around, you hit the shifter. You don't want to go straight into reverse, sitting at a stoplight.
Right.
So that's why I did it where it uses the same torques that you use to take the freedom panels off.
Okay.
So it goes into it. You use the factory tool and you switch it one way or the other. If you're off road, make sure you go back when you're back on the street.
Gotcha.
But if we put that switch on it that way, then
it could be
technically you could bump that thing and then on the street. And so,
safety aspects.
And
liability, because then they're like, well, you designed this. Yeah, I can understand
that side of it gets a little tricky, but he's wanting it, and I can see it in my head. And like I said, we do a lot of weapon stuff too, so I can see it in my head, and I was like, that'd be kind of cool, but
could
at the same
play well
time,
with your clientele.
Yeah, we'll have to see kind of where that one if we fall out, but on that piece. But yeah,
cool.
we love input, like whether it's positive or negative. Hey man, I like this, but it just doesn't. It's not. I need it to be over here. I need this to move there. I need it, and you get 2 or 3 or 4 of those in a row, or in a time period, you're like,
all right, let's make a change.
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. There's a consensus here that they all want the same thing.
Yep.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yep. And our customer base it does continue, of course, to grow over years of time, but it's amazing the amount of people that have bought TJ handles from us, then they bought JK handles from us, now they're buying JL parts from us over the years, and it's just, you look back and you've got, you have customers that have had 15 orders over the years, and they get new Jeeps and they trade stuff out and they come back to us and get parts again.
And that right there just tells me how well made your products are. Knowing that these people are continuously coming back to purchase the new version for their new vehicle, that means they believe in it and they know it's going to be there.
That's what we strive for. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. So all input's good. So, like I always say, don't tell me my mom's ugly, my wife's ugly, or that kind of thing. That's about it. You can say anything you want, but don't.
You can say my parts are the worst parts in the industry, but don't make fun of my mom.
don't make fun of my mom or criticize my kids or whatever else. That kind of thing. So but that's we're basically family. My wife and I. She runs the office side of it. I do the design side and chase up all the other everything you can chase up and do a lot of the programming. My son's out there running that side too. He's basically makes the parts in the machine shop.
Nice.
Between the two of us, we do, but he's the majority of it, and he runs the machine shop. Now,
was he
hard to let that go? But he does.
Behind us.
He was. He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. He was. And then Nico, who you did not see on camera because he hides from it, he lives on property here with us in a house that we have over here on the other side.
Nice.
And I stumbled across him actually at a gun store. He was a manager on the floor, and went in there and started talking to him. I was like, this guy is switched on for being a 25-year-old kid. He is hooked up. So we just started to grow the friendship, and I was like, hey man, you want to come check this out?
It's nice when you find those.
Here we are. So, find good people, take care of them, and keep it going forward.
I second that, man. Yeah. I second that.
Absolutely. And that's that sign I was talking about. The old barnwood.
Okay.
Just put our logo in it so it looks like it's old.
Oh man, that is. How old is this wood?
I have no idea.
That's
no
clue. 100-year-old wood.
But I saw it. There's a place up in
cool.
Clarksville. It's like it's a
like that.
huge building. It's got all little kiosks,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you'd call that. I don't know what you'd technically call whatever that is. You can rent a kiosk and sell your stuff, sell your wares, whatever that would be considered.
Like a flea market-esque kind of place.
Similar, yeah. And there's a guy that's got up there, and has like handmade tables and just different pieces and parts, and sometimes they'll have wood. And I walked up there, and I'm looking at that piece of wood, I'm like, aspect ratio is the same as our logo. That's perfect. So, yeah, no, it worked out good. So.
And I like that you're repurposing your machine and using it and continuing its life to make cool products.
Yeah.
And
I got tons of stuff to do. We could do out of wood in that thing and make. And like I said, we've made signs for tons of people and different things like this and logo pieces and all that stuff. But there's a whole crazy skew of things. That side of the world's fun too. Sky's the limit. Whatever you can dream up. That used to be our old thing. Yeah. Our old one was, you dream it, we'll build it.
There you go.
And you evolve and turn. It still happens because people come to me all the time. That's technically how the shifter came about. So that's at Savvy now. Will Perriman. He hit me up. He's like, dude, this shifter, do you think you could make a piece to make it so you go straight to reverse? I'm like, do you have one? He goes, yeah. I've got one sitting here. And I said, well, I can take mine apart too. I said, but do you have what he was wanting to do? So he sent me some stuff. They had a piece that they had done. There's some guys that had modified, played around with an existing aftermarket shifter for like a Dodge Challenger that's out there. Okay. But it wasn't selectable. You were forced to have it just to go all the time. It was that way. Gotcha. And that piece was clunky. It's made for production. It's like full-on mass production. Gotcha. Millions of them a year through multi-levels of distribution, the whole thing. If you take something and modify it, it's a modified part. If you design it from the ground up, even though it's similar, it's something that's completely. So I was like, yeah, let me play with it, see if I can get everything we need to do in this thing. So I messed around, drew and back and forth, and then now we got what we have. Nice. So it was a chase, but the same thing is come with an idea and let's see if we can turn it into fruition. Let's see if we can make it. 2, 3, 5, 10 iterations later. Yeah, and actually, I did most of it on a computer this time, solid modeling and doing it, and didn't make. The first one that came out was exactly what we have right now. I play with it so much. The 3D modeling just makes it so much easier. I've been messing with the JK shifter for quite a while now. For the last couple of weeks. We've had Christmas and everything else involved in it too. So, and once you get focused, then your focus comes off and then it's hard to get back and forth. Yep. But I was trying to keep it within the same kind of a window as the JL one. So it didn't look massively different. It was about the same piece and it's going to need to be its own complete piece. It's just, the design is completely, every piece of it's completely different. So instead of trying to make it's just going to be its own. Yeah, and I'm now back to where it's going to be its own. So gotcha. So you work through that and you're like, this isn't going to. And so now we're back to that makes sense. And I would have done the same thing if I did the JK first. I would have been like, ooh, now how do I get this into the JL with the lever in it? Because the JK is the 11 to 18, 12 to 18s. 11s were weird. The 12 to 18s. You mean the half years? That's a weird piece. Yeah. Everything about the 11s is weird, but the way that there's no lever in it, it's a gated piece, and to do that and still you get the DNR function into it, and just the way it was designed, the whole thing is night and day. It's totally not even. Yeah. Different. It's almost like different engineers. It's like a dog versus a tractor. I mean, it's not even. They're not even close, and not even remotely close. It's going to need to be its own complete own entity. So that makes sense. It's crazy that, like I was saying before, how similar they look. Yes. But how different they really are. Yeah. I got one. I don't know if you want this on camera or not, but I got one other cool thing, just random. So, dude, we want everything on camera. When I was at Pac West was an IndyCar team that I was at for however many years, for a lot of years, from basically when it started to the end. And that's a long, crazy story as well. But Bruce McCall owned it, and he and his brothers were very much like Nextel and Motorola. Okay. Like that was our main sponsors, and the money was there. Absolutely. And he'd set us forth with a thing of, you got to find your own sponsorship by this time. And at that point, my funding comes to an end. So the sponsors guys were chasing stuff, and make a long story longer, they found a thing in 2001 that was going to be the end-all be-all sponsorship, and we are going to have more money than Penske, than Ganassi, than anybody. Okay. And turned out it was Enron, which you know how that blew up, right? Yeah. And that's what it was, and it was over. And Bruce's multi-millionaire, one of the most phenomenal, wealthy people I have ever met. He's an amazing guy. But it's like, well, that's the end of it. Right. We're done. But yes, so one of Bruce McCall's friends was a guy named Mike Vance, and he has this whole, he had a seminar, had him come and do a seminar for us, and his whole thing was kitchen of the mind. So if you, his whole thing, he puts on, he was doing these seminar deals for crowds and giving them a speech and talk to him. And he was a military veteran from Korea. And the way he could get away from that side of the war was in his pup tent thing at night. He had a picture of his wife tagged up. He had this tagged up. So you surround yourself with this kitchen of the mind. You surround yourself with things that make a difference in what motivates you and drives you.
Yeah.
So by nature or by fluke, that's stuck, and it's always stuck in my head. So if you can get in an environment, and it's a mess back there right now, so it may not be the best thing for camera, but my office, that's what we've turned that into. So if you surround yourself with all your stuff and put it and then get it, then when you get in there, it's comfortable. There's nothing you're worried about. It's all out. So then you can focus on what you're doing. And that's always stuck with me. So this is my mess of an office right now. And obviously we don't have walls finished in here. We left this part when we built the house upstairs, or the part that we live in is finished. But we left this open so we could finish it the way we wanted to finish it. That's why there's insulation, there's no stuff on the walls, anything else. But all of our RC cars, we're turning this in. We're going to start doing like little podcasty things and explanations for videos for doing installs.
Perfect.
So we've got this little section that I just started messing with that we're going to do this with. So we've got a TV, we can show videos, explain install videos and do some of that stuff. But all of the years that we've done Jeep Beach are stuff that we've done on the beach for Wednesday and Thursday. This is all of the surfboards and the people that were tied. And the fan had 9 blades, and we've done this now for this many years, so here we are. So I just put them, instead of putting a ceiling in here, I just put the surfboards up from every year.
They're real surfboards?
They're real surfboards,
Oh, that's awesome. I love this, is exactly what you're saying. Like, it's all the reminders of everything you've done, what you're doing, and what you want to do in the future.
Well, like this picture, it's on the wall here. That's at the Golden Crack. You guys been in Moab.
Oh, yeah.
So this is at the Crack. Crack's right here, right? And we were watching UTVs go through the Crack and flop. So, and there was a huge line of them. So it was like, we waited. And finally, I was like, I'm going to run through there real quick. And then so you can get some pictures of it. And I went through and then turned around. I was in the middle of turning around and to come back through it. And it was either, my wife was sitting there and Tim Pellegrino was sitting there too. And I don't know, can't remember who actually took it, but they were just like, oh, hey, and went click
like
with
perfect.
an iPhone. And it turned into that. And how do you couldn't stage that if you had to. No. It just is one of those pictures. So we blew it up big. So.
Looks good. I love Moab. That's, it's one of those places where like I could see myself living there because of what it is, but then I think it would take away from its magic too if I lived there. You know, like
there's something, about it.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking us through the facility and showing us everything.
It's not a very big place. It's cold outside right now. That's why we've got the heaters running and everything else, but it's home, so we're here. But
I'm very envious. I'll just leave it at that. I think I really like your setup.
Thank you.
Everything that you have going on here, it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And it's still pretty, tractor sitting in here that when you guys pulled up, you saw the cattle out here. That's our cattle. Nice. That whole side of it. So I was born and raised on a farm in Indiana is where it all started. So now I've gone full circle, I guess. I'm back to cattle again. So here we are. So, but
Very cool. Very cool.